I never wanted to be the kind of mother who counted what she gave her children. Love isn't a balance sheet. You don't keep track of what's been spent and what's been returned. So, when my son Daniel grew up and moved to the city, I never once asked him for money. I never hinted at my struggles. I never reminded him of the years I spent stretching a single bag of rice across a whole week, just so he could have shoes for school. I didn't complain when he stopped calling as often. I told myself he was busy. I reassured myself that this was just how life went. Children grow up, they move on, and mothers become afterthoughts. Then, the first transfer came in. I remember staring at my phone in disbelief. The bank notification blinked up at me like a cruel joke. $1.80. $1.80. I had to squint, thinking I had read it wrong. Maybe there was a decimal error. Maybe it was supposed to be 180 and not 80s. But no, the number was correct, and the worst part, it was labeled, "For you, Mom, love you." I let out a dry laugh. Love me? Was this some kind of prank? I checked my messages. There was nothing else from him, just that transaction. For a moment, I felt foolish. My chest tightened, my face burned with embarrassment. $1.80. What could I even do with that? Then, because I had no other choice, I laughed. I typed back, "Such a generous allowance, dear. Maybe I'll buy half a soda." He didn't respond. And so the months passed, and every month, like clockwork, Daniel sent $1.80. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Daniel's question rang in my ears long after the phone call ended. "Mom, is $1,500 too small?" It made no sense. For the past 11 months, I had been receiving exactly $1.80 from my son, a humiliating, almost laughable amount. I had spent months convincing myself that this was his way of showing that he simply didn't care. I had accepted it, made peace with it. So why was he suddenly asking if $1,500 was too small? That wasn't the question of a man who had been sending his mother pennies out of neglect or indifference. That was the question of a man who thought he was doing more. And if Daniel thought he was sending more, then my blood ran cold. Something was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to 4 missed calls from Daniel. That alone was unusual. My son wasn't the type to call multiple times. If anything, I was the one who had to chase him down for a response. By the time I finished my coffee, my phone rang again. Daniel. I picked up, bracing myself. "Mom," he said urgently, skipping past greetings. "I need you to check something for me." I set my mug down. "What is it?" I need you to look at your bank transactions, the ones from me. Read them out to me, every single one from the past year." I frowned. "Daniel, what's going on?" "Please, Mom," he said, his voice tense. "Just do it." Something in his voice made my stomach knot. I pulled out my bank statements, my hands slightly unsteady. I had gotten so used to mocking my own misfortune, to treating those ridiculous $1.80 deposits like some kind of cruel joke, that I had never once thought to question them. But now, looking at them through Daniel's urgency, I felt a strange unease creep over me. I cleared my throat and began reading. March 3rd, deposit, $1.80. Silence. April 5th, $1.80. More silence. May 1st, deposit, $1.80. Then I heard something I had never expected, a sharp intake of breath, as if the air had been knocked out of Daniel's lungs. "Mom." His voice was hoarse, strained. "Are you sure?" I blinked. "Of course I'm sure. Why would I lie about something like this?" "Because," he said, almost in a whisper, "I've been sending you $1,500 every month." My breath caught. "What did you just say?" "I send you $1,500 every single month," he repeated, his voice filled with disbelief. "Mom, I set it up almost a year ago. It's supposed to go out automatically. I don't understand. Where is your money?" A strange ringing filled my ears. Where was my money? I had no answer, but deep down, I had a sinking, gut-wrenching feeling that I already knew. And the moment I realized it, my hands started to tremble. because there was only one person who had control over Daniel's transactions. His wife, Sophie. Daniel, I said carefully, my pulse pounding. Who actually makes the transfers? There was a long silence. Then he let out a quiet, almost stunned, "Oh my God!" It was her, his wife, the same woman who had barely acknowledged my existence since they got married. The same woman who always spoke to me with forced politeness, who never invited me over, who always answered Daniel's phone when I called saying he was busy. She had been the one handling my son's finances. She had been the one sending the money, or rather, stealing it. And for nearly a year, I had been sitting here, making jokes about $1.80 allowance, while my son had been sending me enough to actually live on. I had spent months feeling abandoned, humiliated, but it wasn't Daniel who had abandoned me. It was the woman he trusted the most, and she had been robbing me. His own mother, right under his nose. I gripped the phone so tightly my fingers ached. "Daniel," I said, my voice icy, "you need to check your bank records. Now." "I will," he stammered, still sounding dazed. I don't understand how." "Do it," I cut in sharply. I was done playing the fool. For 11 months, I had let myself believe my son didn't care. But now I wasn't just a mother with hurt feelings. I was a mother who had been robbed. And I wanted the truth. No matter how ugly it was. Daniel was silent for a long time after I told him to check his bank records. When he finally spoke again, his voice was low and tight. "Mom, if Sophie really did this," he trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "If?" I clenched my jaw. Even now, he didn't want to believe it. But I had already made peace with the truth. I knew what we were about to find. And the moment he saw those bank statements, Daniel wouldn't have a choice but to see it too. "Stay on the phone," I said. "I want to hear what you find." I could hear him rustling through drawers, his breathing uneven. A minute passed, then 2. Then I heard a sudden, sharp intake of breath. "No way!" I gripped the armrest of my chair. "What?" His breathing turned shaky. "Mom, every single month, $1,500 left my account. Just like I set it up. It went to your bank. It says delivered. But you're telling me you never got it?" "Not a cent," I said coldly. And just like that, I heard something in him break. It was like a thread had snapped in his mind. The moment when reality comes crashing down so fast it knocks the air out of you. Then came the second sound. A shuffling. A movement. Then a door opening. "Daniel?" I asked sharply. I knew exactly what he was about to do. I could hear Sophie's voice in the background, casual, unbothered. "Hey babe, what's wrong?" Her voice made my skin crawl. There was a beat of silence. Then Daniel's voice, cold and strained. "Where's my mother's money?" There was no immediate response. Then a nervous laugh. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about, Sophie," he snapped. "I've been sending my mom $1,500 every single month, and somehow she's only been getting $1.80. Silence. I imagined Sophie standing there, trapped, trying to come up with a lie. Then, her voice, suddenly tight and defensive. "Daniel, don't you dare accuse me of something like this." I heard her moving, probably stepping away. "You think I would steal from your own mother?" "Tell me where the money is then," Daniel shot back. "Because I checked the records, Sophie. The transactions were processed. My mom never got them. So where is the money?" The silence stretched. I could hear Sophie's breathing, shaky now. Then, suddenly, she changed tactics. The gaslighting begins. "Daniel, listen to me." Her voice softened, dripping with forced concern. "I know this is shocking, but let's be rational, okay? Maybe your mom is confused." I blinked. She did not just say that. "She's 62, babe," Sophie continued. "Maybe she's having memory problems. Maybe she's exaggerating things." I clenched my fists. Daniel's response was immediate. "Don't," he growled. "Don't you dare try to make my mom sound senile just to cover up whatever the hell you did." That shut her up. For a second. Then her voice low and angry now. So what, Daniel? You just automatically believe her over me? Yes, he exploded. Because she's been living off pennies while I've been sending enough to actually survive. I've been thinking she was just being stubborn when she didn't move into a better apartment, but it turns out you've been robbing her blind. Sophie scoffed. This is insane. You're not even listening to me. Because you're lying. I can't believe this, she muttered. You think I'm capable of doing something like this? And then the cherry on top. After everything I've done for you, I heard a loud thud, a chair being kicked, a hand slamming on the counter, and then Daniel's voice, quiet, dangerously quiet. You know what, Sophie? He said. I want to see your bank records. Silence. You heard me, he pressed. If you didn't take the money, then show me your bank transactions for the past year. Show me exactly where our money's been going. Prove me wrong. I held my breath, because we both knew if she had nothing to hide, she'd show him. But Sophie didn't say a word, didn't move, didn't breathe. Then finally, a panicked response. Daniel, don't you trust me? That was all I needed to hear. And judging by the devastation in Daniel's voice when he finally spoke, that was all he needed to hear too. I trusted you with my mother's life. And now I want the truth. I didn't stay on the phone long after that, because I knew Daniel had a choice to make. And I knew Sophie, a liar backed into a corner, would fight to the bitter end to twist things in her favor. But something inside me had settled. For 11 months, I had believed that my son had abandoned me, that he didn't care, that I was nothing more than a burden to him. But the truth was, he had cared. He had cared enough to provide for me, enough to make sure I never had to struggle. And the only reason I had ever doubted him was because someone had stolen that care from me. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I knew one thing for certain. Sophie had taken from me, and I would take it all back. I didn't sleep much that night. How could I? I kept picturing Daniel and Sophie in that kitchen, her scrambling for excuses, him standing there, shattered by betrayal. I wanted to believe he'd do the right thing, that he'd see her for what she was. But love makes people blind, and I had no idea how deep Sophie's claws were in him. My phone rang early the next morning. I didn't even check the screen. I just picked up. Daniel? Silence. Then a deep breath. Mom, it's worse than we thought. I felt a cold prickle run down my arms. Tell me. Daniel's voice was hoarse, like he hadn't slept either. She finally admitted it, he said. She's been rerouting the money to her own account. She set up some kind of auto transfer so that as soon as the funds hit our joint account, she'd siphon almost everything into a private account I never knew existed. My stomach churned. I had imagined a lot of things, but this level of deception? What did she do with it? I whispered. Daniel let out a bitter, humorless laugh. Oh, you'll love this part, he said. She used it for household expenses. I frowned. But you already cover the household expenses. Exactly. His voice was tight. You know where the money really went, Mom? Brunches, spa treatments, designer bags, trips with her girlfriends. She took the money meant for you and blew it on luxuries. I pressed my fingers against my temple, feeling a sharp ache forming. How long? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Since the beginning, Daniel said flatly. 11 months. Almost a whole year. I squeezed my eyes shut. So every single time I sat in my tiny apartment, counting pennies to afford groceries, Sophie had been drinking mimosas with her friends, laughing at some high-end restaurant. I swallowed the bitter taste rising in my throat. What did she say when you confronted her? Daniel exhaled shakily. At first, she tried to keep lying. Then she turned it around and said she deserved the money for all the effort she puts into our marriage. Effort? I repeated incredulously. He let out another sharp, bitter laugh. Yeah, apparently keeping our house in order and managing the finances meant she deserved a cut, like she was entitled to it. I was silent for a long time. Then I said, "And what did you do?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I packed a bag," he said quietly. "I left." I blinked. "Wait, what?" "I walked out," he said, his voice cracking. "I couldn't look at her anymore. Couldn't stand to be in the same house." I've never felt so disgusted in my entire life. A lump formed in my throat. "Where are you now?" "A hotel," he admitted. I needed space to think. There was something fragile in his voice, something broken. My son was hurting. And as much as Sophie had stolen from me, she had stolen something far worse from him. His trust. His peace. His belief that his own wife wasn't capable of something this cruel. I closed my eyes. "Oh, honey," I murmured. "I'm so sorry." "But Mom," his voice turned serious. "I need to ask you something." I sat up straighter. "Anything. I want to make this right," he said. "I want to pay you back everything she took. Every single cent." Tears stung my eyes. "Daniel, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he interrupted, "because this is my fault. I should have been paying attention. I should have checked. I can't believe I let her do this to you." Turns out my heart clenched. "It's not your fault," I said softly, but I understood why he felt that way. "Please," he said, "let me fix this." I hesitated. I didn't care about the money. I cared that he finally knew the truth. But if this was what he needed to feel like he could undo the damage Sophie had caused, I sighed. "All right." "So what happens now?" I asked after a moment. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I don't think I can forgive her." I let out a slow breath. "I wouldn't blame you if you didn't." Another pause. "She's been calling me non-stop," he admitted. "I haven't answered yet." "She's going to try to manipulate you," I warned. "Oh, I know," he said darkly. "That's why I'm getting a lawyer before I go back." A smile tugged at my lips. "Good," I said. "She stole from my mother," Daniel murmured. "And she thinks she's getting away with it?" There was a steely determination in his voice now. "That she's got another thing coming." Daniel followed through. He lawyered up, he gathered all the evidence, and when he finally confronted Sophie with legal paperwork and bank statements proving her theft, she broke. First, she cried. Then she begged. Then she screamed. She tried every trick in the book. Gaslighting, guilt-tripping, even blaming me. But Daniel didn't waver. By the time the dust settled, she was out of his house and out of his life. As for me, 1 week later, my bank account magically had $16,500 in it. Daniel made good on his promise, and for the first time in almost a year, I felt secure again. I wasn't rich, I wasn't living lavishly, but I could breathe, and I had my son back. A few days later, Daniel texted me, "Mom, I still can't believe you lived on $1.80 a month. I don't know how you did it," I chuckled. "Let's just say I got very good at stretching a dollar." "Well, I want you to stop stretching. I'm raising your allowance." I blinked. "Daniel, you don't have to." "Nope. Already done. $2,000 a month. No more arguing." My heart swelled, and for the first time in a long time, I felt loved. Because I had never needed my son's money. I had needed his care. And now I knew I had it. Forever.